Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Ginger Pierce, and I am one of the travel agents with Marvelous Mouse Travels. We are the agency that runs this Facebook group, along with several others that are focused on different destinations. We are also an earmarked platinum authorized Disney vacation planner, and that just means that we are trained directly by Disney to be experts in their vacation product, and we are also recognized by them as providing exceptional customer service to our clients. Welcome to Sundays with MMT. This is a weekly live agent panel video series that we do in one of our Facebook groups every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. And we are really excited to be here tonight in this group to talk to you about the Adventures by Disney South African itinerary. So, we have a lot of information that we're going to be sharing with you about that. If you have been toying with the idea of visiting South Africa, or if you are looking at maybe doing an Adventures by Disney experience and you're just starting the process, this is a great session for you to join because we are going to give you the opportunity to ask us questions. So if at any point during this time you have a question or a comment, feel free to go ahead and put that into the comment section and we will come back and address those towards the end. We're using StreamYard to go live this evening, and so you may be asked to approve StreamYard to display your username and profile picture if you want to post a question or comment. Just know that you can decline that permission and you can still post and interact with us anonymously. So we have a Sundays with MMT first this evening. We actually have one of our agents who is joining us, but she's joining us with one of her clients who just returned from the Adventures by Disney South African itinerary not too long ago. And so I'm going to let our agent Jacqueline introduce herself, and then I'm going to let her introduce her client who's going to share some firsthand experience from another consumer just like you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Versillo. Thanks for joining us tonight. I've been an agent with Marvelous Mouse Travels for 5 years, and I was so excited to have an Adventures by Disney client, and not only going on a little trip, but a huge trip to South Africa. So I'm going to introduce, she's not only my client, she's actually my sister. So I'm so happy to have her here tonight. Her name is Jennifer Edwards, and she just got back from an epic trip, and I'm excited to dive into her Adventures by Disney trip with all of you.
Hi, everyone. As Jacqueline said, I'm Jenny Edwards. I just got back from one of the best trips I've ever taken. A little bit about me. I live and work in New York. I have for about 20 years. And I'm really excited to talk to you about my trip.
That's awesome. So let's start maybe at the very beginning for people who are perhaps brand new to the idea of Adventures by Disney and thinking, okay, what is that? Like, I think Disney, I think Disneyland or Disney World or maybe Disney Cruise Line. But what is Adventures by Disney?
I think you are so correct. There's a big misunderstanding of what Adventures by Disney is. They think you're going to go all over the world and Mickey and Minnie are going to be there and you're going to have a Disney type of experience. But Adventures by Disney is really catered to, it's an incredible trip catered to making you feel safe and taken care of all throughout your trip. You can go all over the world. You can even go to Antarctica now, the Galapagos Islands. It's all about a very detailed itinerary where they take into account everybody who goes on their trip between, if you're 8 or if you're 60 or if you're 40. It really is a luxurious vacation where you have an adventure guide who goes with you the entire trip, and you also have a local guide that comes with you, and you're fully immersed in an experience. But it's not your Disney, we're, going to see Mickey, Minnie. It's more about how do we make this trip the most incredible trip ever and make everybody feel from start to finish that they've been fully taken care of and had a good experience.
I love the fact that you bring that up because it is the immersion of Disney and the customer service of Disney without the theming of Disney. And I think that you described it perfectly just then, how they make sure they do what Disney always does when you're in their theme park. So when you're on their cruise line, make sure that you're taken care of, but in these incredible immersive experiences. So that was awesome.
Yeah. And I think too, when Jenny approached me, she said, hey, we're thinking about going to South Africa. And she's very, very well traveled, has been all over the world. So I thought, oh, okay. And she said, we're interested in Adventures by Disney. So this is perfect for you to go on because you will be taken care of from start to finish. They even flew in a day early, and the adventure guide still picked them up at the airport.
Oh,
They
wow.
just did everything to make sure the second you land, you are taken care of till the second you take off.
That's a great point. So, Jenny, this next question is for you. Why did you choose Adventures by Disney as opposed to another tour operator? Because there are a lot of tour operators that go to South Africa. So, why this one in particular?
I mean, it's building a little bit on what Jacqueline had said. It's that, I knew that I would be taken care of and that it was safe. And, I did want to go to South Africa, but I really was keen on having someone sort of plan it for me.
Mhm.
Not being incredibly familiar with the towns and the type of activities and where I should be staying and stuff like that. And so that I looked and I saw that Adventures by Disney. I'd obviously heard from Jacqueline that that they offer trips around to different places around the world, and I knew I would get incredible customer service and I would be incredibly taken care of, and it would be kind of, and as you said, like sprinkled with Disney magic throughout, but just a once in a lifetime trip.
That's awesome. So, talk to me a little bit about what is included and what's not included in the experience.
Well, I think when Jenny and I started planning it, we were looking into flights. Flights are to and from are not included.
Mhm.
The flight they did fly in between their trip, that is included, and you can go through Adventures by Disney Air for the flights, but we opted to upgrade seats, and so Jenny they booked their flights on their own, but Disney worked with us with their flights to coordinate everything, which is nice. But I think Jenny, do you want to speak to once you landed,
Sure.
what was included with everything?
So your hotels, your transportation from the airports to the hotels, and then any transportation that happens for any of the activities throughout the 10 days that you're there. The majority of the meals are included. You have a couple free, nights or maybe a free meal here and there. But it's actually really great because the adventure guides will give you really great recommendations for where to go to enjoy that free night. But like Jacqueline said, the 3 flights in, also, they get you to the airport to depart to go home. Unfortunately, you have to leave. But, it was kind of very sweet. Like they dropped me and my friend off at where we needed to check in. And then everybody like went back off, they dropped everybody off at their gates and stuff. So you are incredibly taken care of as soon as you get there.
That's awesome.
Jenny, um, did you feel like you, when they had those days off, because some people think, oh, all inclusive when you have like a day off, did you feel like sometimes you just needed to rest at the hotel because you were doing so much and you didn't need to fill that time?
A little bit, yes. It is a jam-packed itinerary, and again, you also flew like halfway around the world. So, yeah, I think on that particular night we were like, let's get an early dinner and call it a night. But it was incredibly well timed because I think by that time we needed that. So, yeah, it was kind of perfect, the timing of it.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about that jam-packed itinerary. What were some of the things that you got to see and do? What were some of your favorites?
Oh man, there's so much. Cape Town was amazing. We got to get to the top of Table Mountain on an epically beautiful day, like not a cloud in the sky, not even windy up there. And, we got to walk around there for a while, and, we really lucked out with our weather. I was in South Africa during their winter season and was told that, it can run the gamut. It can be rainy and cloudy and sometimes difficult to see Table Mountain. So the fact that we got that was just, really incredible. And we got to, drive through Cape Town, hear about the history of Cape Town, meet people who, experienced apartheid, hearing first person experiences about that was incredible. The food that they took us to eat were local restaurants that you could tell that they were everybody was friends with each other. And there was this real sort of like having it from like your home kitchen type of meal. And then we flew to the picture you just showed was when we went to, I believe, the southwesternmost point of the African continent. So that was really cool. And again, just epic views, beautiful weather there. So, and then we flew to another town. We flew into George and then drove a little bit to, we were going to a town called Neisna, and went to a couple, we went to a bird sanctuary, we went to a monkey sanctuary, a big cat sanctuary, and just got to kind of experience, Neisna was on the waterfront, so we got to have dinner on the waterfront. And then after that, we flew to, I cannot pronounce the name of the town we flew to, but it was on the outskirts of Kruger National Park, and we went to Kapama Game Reserve, which was incredible. So that's the Milky Way at the top. And coming from New York, I like even just seeing the stars at night and just seeing so many of the stars was just a wonderful experience. So.
Yeah, I was about to say that I don't think I've ever seen that many stars in my life, and I'm obviously not in a town anywhere near as large as New York, so I can imagine that would have been pretty awesome.
It's not a filtered. Everybody thought it was a filtered picture. I'm like, that's not a filter. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Like,
no, it
wow.
was incredible.
I think too, Jenny. Like, I liked the progression. You sent us pictures every night of your introduction into Adventures by Disney. I even loved the pictures you sent of the dinner you had, where it was like you got to play bongos and all these instruments, and you got your face painted with like African like art. Like they really just started to immerse you into the experience, and I think it was nice for you to get to know your fellow tour mates by the progression of that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it was, and it was a great group. It was really fun. Yeah, there's our little penguins. They were really fun to see too, out in the wild. So, and to see them kind of like pitter patter around. So yeah, and you can get pretty close to them. You're not supposed to touch them, so we did not do that. But it was pretty incredible. You saw, babies. There were a couple eggs. So that was a very unique experience as well.
My kids would absolutely love that. They love penguins.
It was fun to watch them like kind of swim out of the water and like come up onto the shore and stuff. So
yeah. What do you think was your favorite thing that you did on this itinerary?
It's so hard. I mean, I feel like I went on 2 different vacations because like, I will say when you get to the safari is just such a unique experience that it sort of clouds your judgment a little bit on what was the most amazing. Cause just to see these animals in the wild and to get so close to them is really incredible. But I think being in Cape Town, I think I would go back to Cape Town. I really enjoyed exploring it. I loved going to the different restaurants, meeting different people, hearing their stories. But I would have to say that the safari part was probably my favorite.
Yeah, it'd be pretty hard to top.
You lucked out. Normally you don't spot all the big 5, and you guys got all the big 5 and then an extra little something special on your safari.
We were told that, 1 in 5 people leave South Africa without seeing a leopard, and we were actually lucky enough to see a leopard. So,
wow.
And a little baby leopard too.
So. So was this an easy travel experience? Like, is this something that you would do again? Would you do another Adventures by Disney itinerary?
100%. I'm trying to convince Jacqueline to do the Peru trip. So, it's funny when we met the fellow travelers and stuff, me and my friend who took this trip, because we wanted to do a bucket list trip. It had been a couple years since we had been really traveling in the world. So we were like, let's do something big. And we were I think we were the only people on the trip who it was our first Adventures by Disney tour. And the majority of the people on my trip, it was their 4th or 5th.
Wow.
And, it was kind of cute too. There was 2 families who had met on a previous trip, and now they travel together, each summer. It seems like each summer. So, So that was really, kind of nice to see that, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, this is how we travel now.
Yeah.
So, and it was great to meet, I think you have to be a certain age. I think you have to be 8 for South Africa. So, but we ran the gamut. We went 8 to, older. So,
Yeah.
so it was really fun. It was fun to be, with people that age and and older, and just see everybody's experience and how they were reacting to the trip. So
That's awesome.
Yeah. Can I ask a quick question, which I think I
Yeah.
know the answer to already? But so when people think tours, they think like standard tour guide, like follow my sign. We're going to go here, here, and here. What was your personal experience with your tour guide with Adventures by Disney?
they were great. I mean, if you can get Ralph and Craig to do your South Africa trip, you should definitely do it. They were fantastic. So they bring so much energy, and I think what I really liked about it too is that they had such a friendship with each other, which was really fun to see. But they were so fun, so knowledgeable, so helpful on everything, and just made everything so much easier.
Yeah.
And I think that's the Disney difference with Adventures by Disney is they really it's I think you were talking to Ralph too about where he goes after which Adventures by Disney trips, and it is hard to become an Adventures by Disney tour guide because they are considered one of the elites because they have the personality, they have the knowledge, and they just have the ability. It's almost like a cruise director too, the ability to bring everybody together. And what I love too about your tour group, you guys all follow each other now on social media. And like you were showing me the other families in Germany now, and they're the family, they're going to go on the around the world trip with Adventures by Disney. And it's, you do form that bond as a tour group. It's not like 100 people, you're there with a small community.
We said we felt like we went to adult summer camp, and we really liked our camp counselors, and we all became best friends.
Yeah.
So that's how we felt.
I love it. That's awesome. And, one of the things I love about Adventures by Disney, now, how long were you gone? How long was this particular?
So the trip itself was 10 days.
Okay.
We went in a day early just because it takes a while to get there. I will forewarn that, depending on where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And so we didn't want to the way that our flights worked out, we would get in at night. And so we didn't want to get in at night and then have to start immediately.
Right.
So I would say all in all, we were 13 and a half, 14 days gone. And when you include travel.
Yeah. And, there are long itineraries like that, but there are also escapes that you can do with Disney, Adventures by Disney, where maybe you're gone for a long weekend or something like that. There are domestic Adventures by Disney itineraries, all around the world. So there's lots of different ways to have this experience. But if you are looking at a bucket list trip like South Africa, it would be for many people. I love the fact that this kind of takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. Like, you have it planned, you just kind of show up and enjoy and sit back and relax. And that's,
it makes it a very, in my opinion, a stress-free vacation. Once I got myself there, I sort of put it in their hands.
Yeah.
And that was, it made it very relaxing and a little and stress-free. So, and I will just say I know I said it is a long flight, but I will say I've been to Australia too.
Wow.
And I've felt that even though they're very long flights, it is 100% worth it.
Mm-hmm.
I would go back. Very quickly. If someone was like, do you want to go to South Africa? I would say 100%. Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that's what, when we were talking as a family, you were like, this is a one and done bucket list. And then when you came back, you were like, oh my gosh, no, I'd go again. And that just speaks to, I think, what a great experience they gave you. But also too, before you left, you got a very big package from Adventures by Disney with a lot of detail. You had bags. And did you feel like it was a good detail of where we're going to meet you at the airport? Did you feel once you took off, you knew the second you landed, you were going to be in good hands?
Yes. The communication is very helpful. And you do get sort of for my trips, you got a 15-page like PDF that, you know, took you through kind of like the overall of the itinerary each day, but also like what you need to bring, like, you know, things you need to pack. I will also say that there's, you know, reminders of like, you know, things you need to do prior to the trip, like, you know, making sure, you know, I mean, not to get into the weeds of it, but like that your passport is, you
Right.
know, not expiring within 6 months, or,
Mhm.
you know, that, you know, you have all the appropriate shots and medications and that type of stuff.
Mhm.
So, you know, I found it incredibly helpful. And it was just the right amount of information where I knew the gist, the good gist of what I was doing on a daily basis, but there were little surprises here and there that were, you know, not included, but, you know, like little kind of fun little adventures too.
That's awesome.
And my last question slash prompt, because I know this response, can you tell us, because I think sometimes two people think Disney, and we all feel safe with Disney, but you also had a very, very adventurous trip. Can you tell the story of your night run where you're pitch black in your Jeep going through and when you spotted the leopards and the baby leopards? Because I think that story just shows that you're in good hands, but they're going to give you a good adventure.
Sure. This is one of my favorite stories. So when you go to the game reserve, you go on game drives. We would go in the morning for a little bit, and you would go, you know, right before the sun would set, because that's when the animals are the most active,
Mhm.
and particularly at night. You know, the ones that are a little bit more elusive come out at night, like the lions and the leopards. So we were, I mean, the guides there are like incredibly knowledgeable on all the, you know, flora and fauna, but even the stars, like showing us, you know, how to navigate. I don't, it's kind of hard to see, but if you can see in the top, like right there, look, it looks like a cross.
Mhm.
There's 4 stars, and that's the Southern Cross, the equivalent of the Northern Star. So like showing us
Mm.
how you can navigate by that. And so we were sort of looking at the stars, and then you could see our tracker and our guide were kind of talking to each other, and we were like, something's happening. So, and we were supposed to be making our way back to the hotel for dinner, and they were like, we're going to stay out for a little bit longer, we think we found a leopard. And then we just started
Ooh.
driving super fast to go find the leopard, which was like exciting and adventurous because you're in an open air Jeep and stuff.
Mhm.
But again, never ever felt like I was more in awe of the fact that it's pitch black, and like they obviously have like a flashlight to help like see the roads, but that they can navigate like no problem with it.
Yeah.
I was more in awe of that. And then we pulled up, and there was an adult leopard, but we were a couple cars behind. And so our guide moved us sort of into the bush a little bit. And I think in anticipation that the leopard would continue to walk in front of the vehicles.
Mhm.
And we stopped by this bush that was on the right side of the car, and my friend was sitting next to me, and she said, like, kind of quietly, she was like, there's a baby leopard in the bush.
Oh.
And no one heard her because we were just like trying to see the adult leopard. And she's like, guys, there is a baby leopard right next to us. And we all just turned, and like, I
Oh.
mean, so we were just right. And it was just like, I mean, that was really special. So it's cute little baby
Oh.
leopard. So, but it was, you know, it was an incredible experience. And, you know, just to see any of the animals. Like I personally really wanted to see baby elephants. And so like when we saw those, I was just like beside myself, so happy. But just even seeing like any type of animals, like wildebeest, the African buffalo, we saw impalas and zebras, and just, I mean, giraffes, baby giraffes, like any of them. Like you can see all of it. It's incredible.
That's awesome. So obviously, Jenny, Jacqueline is your sister. And so, that's why I'm sure you booked this trip with her. But talk to people a little bit about what travel agents do, or the value that Jacqueline provided to you as your agent.
Well, I will say this wasn't my first trip that I've booked with Jacqueline, so I do know her level of service. And I wanted to, again, having a travel agent is incredibly helpful because, if you're worried about like, what if my flight gets delayed? Like, what if, I need information on this, or how do I get in touch with somebody? Like, I knew I had access to somebody who could, help me and sort of relieve that stress a little bit, because we all know like travel is a little difficult right now. Flights are getting delayed and canceled and stuff. And so, I kind of, I just put it in her hands and was like, all right, I'm getting on the plane. And if we get delayed or anything, I knew she would take care of it. And just also like, you know, I had questions, like, even leading up to the trip, like, and she was just always incredibly forthcoming with the information and stuff like that. I have a little bit of a type A personality. And so I like a little bit of control. And so like just having, somebody that I could ask questions to and get a response, very quickly was incredibly helpful to help me prepare for the trip. So
absolutely. And
plus, she's great.
Jacqueline,
You should definitely use her.
yeah. Well, I was about to say
That's the
Jacqueline is
test.
that way with every client, whether it's her sister or somebody she doesn't know. That's just who Jacqueline is, and that's how she takes care of her clients. So I know that that's true of her for sure.
No, and there is paperwork you have to fill out and like things you need to remember to bring with you to South Africa. And she was incredibly helpful at like nudging me and my friend when we weren't, we were missing a piece of paperwork. And again, that's incredibly helpful. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And that's one thing that maybe a lot of people aren't aware of as well, that it's not any extra money, whether even if your travel agent is not related to you, it's still not going to be any extra money, right? Like you're not going to pay for their services, because Adventures by Disney does include that already in the price of any itinerary that you book. It's going to include an agent's commission. So when you are booking that not through an agent, you really are kind of paying for a service that you're not receiving. So especially with international travel, I totally agree with what Jenny said, that it's just helpful to have that extra person to kind of make sure you haven't missed anything, that you do have your paperwork, and that also, if unexpected things happen and you're in the air on that very long flight, you have someone who can kind of be taking care of things for you. If your flight is delayed and you're not going to make it when you thought you would, you have your agent who can kind of go to bat for you and make sure that you still get where you need to go. So that's an incredibly valuable thing. Is there anything else that you guys would like to share before we kind of wrap up for the evening?
If it's on your bucket list and you want to do it, I would do it through Disney. I just, yeah, I would go back. If Jacqueline ever goes with her family, I will be asking if I can join. So
yeah, well, you're always welcome on all our trips. But yes, we as a family are looking into it just because it is truly a different experience. And I want to try a domestic one. I want to try an international one. I want to do a Rhine River cruise. I want to be able to experience something that is very unique to the travel industry, and it's not what you expect. And I think one thing too, Jenny, you felt like the price that you paid, you came back and you said, I feel like I ripped them off. You were like, it was
like me and I was like, I feel like they could have charged me more.
Yeah. So I think the initial sticker price tag might be like, ooh, but when you really go into that itinerary, really go into the details and all the people that are there and all of the people you meet and the experiences you create, it's worth it in the end for that experience. And I think it speaks volumes that all the people you run the trip with, families, and different age groups, once they did Adventures by Disney, they said, that's it. Here we go. We're going to do this. And it's worth it for those adventures.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you both so much for being on with us tonight. I really, really appreciate getting to hear about this experience and getting to hear from, a client who's had that firsthand experience of working with one of our agents. If you are watching this, maybe you joined us a little bit late and you want to go back and catch up and make sure you didn't miss anything, this video will stay in our Facebook group. It will also be on our YouTube channel, which you can find at youtube.com/marvelousmousetravels. So definitely, if you joined us late and you want to get back to the beginning and hear everything about this, you can find this video after it's no longer live. We did have a couple of people who said hello, so we'll go ahead and put those comments up. So thank you so much for watching. And we had one more too. So, and again, if you do happen to find this after we're no longer live and you're like, oh, I wish I could have asked a question, you still can put that in the comment section. We do continue to monitor these videos after the fact, and we're happy to come back at a later date and answer that for you. If you missed Jacqueline's contact information, again, you can find that back at the beginning of the video. Keep in mind that it is free of charge to work with any of our agents. You're not going to pay any more to book through us as you would to book directly on Disney's website. And we can help you with everything from Adventures by Disney to a theme park vacation to an all-inclusive resort, a cruise, and beyond. So again, thank you so much, everyone, for watching tonight. And we hope to see you again really soon for another episode of Sundays with MMT. Bye, everybody.
Bye.